Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to another Limbus Company video. Today we're going to be playing with the Blade Lineage, right before the new Intervalo, which introduces more Blade Lineage identities for the one specific character. E.G.O, I think her name is? I can't remember. But yeah, Ishmael's getting a new Blade Lineage identity, which is very interesting to say the least, considering the fact that she's also the leader of the Kurokumo clan, or not really the leader, but like a significant individual within their organization. Pretty fitting that she would also be a pretty significant member of the Blade Lineage as well as a result, but in any case, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to actually make videos on that content, at least not very early, because I'm going to be in Norway for the next 2 weeks or so. It's not going to affect my upload schedule very much, because honestly I've been doing a pretty terrible job at maintaining that recently. Sorry about that, but I'll probably work on it once I get back. And in any case, up until then, I have managed to make a couple of videos. So you won't be left with nothing while I'm gone, but I won't be able to make any content on the new stuff as a result. But I can talk about what I have seen, and what I have seen is simply the trailer video for the new content. And of course, the most significant thing about it is not the identities. They're kind of just there to be there, but the actual most significant thing is, in fact, Marcel's new E.G.O, which allows him to basically synchronize with Bamboo-Hatted Kim's own personal E.G.O, basically. And he becomes distorted Bamboo-Hatted Kim for a certain amount of time. Supposedly. That's what it looks like from the video anyways. And personally, I'm a bit conflicted about it, because my personal belief was that synchronization E.G.Os were reserved to be exclusively for the Aleph tier, and only the Aleph tier. But what is confirmed is that this new E.G.O is a he E.G.O, and yeah, that kind of doesn't really fit with that belief of mine. And the main reason why I was thinking that synchronization E.G.Os would be Aleph tier is because, well, the ranking system of E.G.Os is specifically determined on the actual rank of the abnormality themselves that they're based on, as well as the synergy that the specific sinner has with said abnormality. That's why you can have two different sinners have the same exact E.G.O, but they're different tier levels. It's because their synergy with said E.G.O is different. And that's why I was like thinking, yeah, it makes sense for synchronization E.G.Os to be exclusive for Aleph tier, because that automatically means that the sinner has the most compatibility with said abnormality, and thus when they use the E.G.O, it makes sense for them to synergize with it. Or synchronize with it, sorry. However, there is one thing that could potentially be happening with Marcel's E.G.O that would still keep this theory alive. And that is if it only allows him to actually synchronize with it if he is specifically using the Blade Lineage identity. Because obviously the Blade Lineage identity would be able to synchronize with the E.G.O 100 times more effectively than any other of Marcel's identities. However, I'm not entirely convinced that that is going to be a thing, considering the fact that, like, if you restrict such a significant mechanic to being on only a single identity, that's a little too restrictive in my opinion. And it's not really fair for anybody who, for example, doesn't have Bamboo-Hatted Marcel. Because obviously why you want that E.G.O is to be able to synchronize. And if you can't synchronize because you don't have the identity, then that's kind of poorly designed in my opinion. So it makes sense from a lore perspective, but not really that much sense from a business perspective, I'd say. In any case, it's going to be very significant, it's going to be very strong. Well, actually, its strength is definitely dependent on a lot of different factors. like the specific identity that's using it, what its actual skills do, yada yada yada, you get it. And most importantly, it's going the main thing that is going to affect it is how long it actually lasts. If it has to go off of anything of what Library of Ruina did, it's going to be like 3 turns, enough for it to use one of each of its skills, a skill 1, skill 2, a skill 3. So it's going to be very strong. I'm definitely looking forward to it when I eventually get back. But in any case, it's super significant for both future E.G.Os as well as, you know, uptie 5 of current E.G.Os, because Project Moon could very easily add an uptie 5 of E.G.Os, for example, Magic Bullet for Otis and the Queen of Hatred for Don Quixote, to just add a little extra thing on top of those that allow them to synchronize as the abnormality when they use it. It's a very easy thing for them to do, to be able to just tack that on as an uptie 5 trait. I don't know if they will do that. It's probably a bit too significant to give to such basically a free upgrade, you know. I don't know if it's the smartest thing that they could do, but it is something that they could do, and it just makes sense. But synchronization E.G.Os are cool, always will be. Way more interesting than an identity, in my opinion, that could have been had. And technically speaking, it's also like it is a way for Project Moon to introduce more lore to the specific identities, if they do go the route of only allowing the synchronization to happen for specific identities. Because it could be effectively a way of saying that, yeah, Bamboo-Hatted Marcel's story mirrors that of Bamboo-Hatted Kim's, and he does end up becoming a distortion in his own mirror world as well. So that's another reason why they could do it that way. I haven't really been talking about this run itself, and it's just sort of the background footage, but yeah, it's ridiculously powerful, the Blade Lineage. Half of these units aren't even fully leveled, by the way. I think Otis specifically is like level 45. Very underleveled, but it doesn't matter because all of the Poise E.G.O gifts in the Mirror Dungeon just give you so much extra clash power that it doesn't matter. It also helps that I did literally take every single Grace of Stars upgrade for this run. Just because, I don't know, I don't do it very often, and I felt like I wanted to. Kind of because Poise is the one status effect that I am the most accepting of actually doing that with, considering how it doesn't really affect the actual gameplay of said identities, because most Poise identities, they can very easily maintain a Poise stack by themselves. Bar the very early ones. And so, yeah, Poise E.G.O gifts, they don't really affect that much, with the only real exception being things like Clear Mirror Calm Water, which does ridiculously superpower their damage. So I guess technically speaking, everything I just said is a lie. And the Poise E.G.O gifts do drastically affect how these identities play. Oh well. It's basically background footage for me to just ramble about anyway, so who cares?
재밌네. 이번에도 잘해줬어. 유익한 책이 또 하나 늘었네.
승부수가 먹혀들었군. 판세는 완벽히 우리에게 있었다. 정착지를 찾을 때까지 이 기세를 잃지 않기를.
And that's how I beat Mirror Dungeon 7 hard using only the Blade Lineage. I Can't wait for the new E.G.O and Ishmael's identity, and also Honglu is there too, I guess. He seems like he'll be kind of interesting, to say the least. Anyway, that's it for me. Like and subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.